You are watching the Maine Poetry Out Loud State Finals on Booth Bay Region Television. This program is being televised before a live audience from the Waterville Opera House in downtown Waterville, Maine.
Did you hear those steps? This place has a personality all over its own. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Charles Stanhope. I'm the chair of the Maine Arts Commission. It's my honor and privilege to welcome all of you here to our event this afternoon. I want to welcome our regional champions, their parents, their fellow students, their family members and friends and neighbors who've come to be supportive of them as they have been all through this process up until today. This is the 2018 Poetry Out Loud Maine State Finals, sponsored by the Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Poetry Foundation, and in collaboration with your Maine Arts Commission. This year we're celebrating 13 years of this marvelous event, and we're very proud to continue our partnership in this program. It's one of the events I look forward to every year. It's a highlight on my calendar. It's one of the best afternoons I spend in the arts and arts education communities. I look forward to it every year, and I know it'll be another treat for all of us this afternoon. It's that chance we get to focus a spotlight on the creativity and the dedication and the inspiration that the young people living around us are bringing into the world, and it only sets our sights high for what they're going to continue to accomplish based on this experience and the other pursuits that they have in their lives. And we're happy that the Arts Commission gets a chance to partner with the schools to give them these opportunities. Before we begin, let's thank once again those who have gone behind the curtain to the Waterville Senior High School Jazz Band under the direction of music educator Sue Barry. They were just great. And the bonus is you're going to get to hear them again. I want to thank the Waterville Opera House and their staff for welcoming us again and for being, along with all of you, very flexible as Mother Nature threw her challenges at us to be in this place at this time. But we're all here, and we really appreciate their adaptability and flexibility working with us. This afternoon, we're celebrating a group of outstanding student reciters. They are competing to represent Maine at the National Finals of Poetry Out Loud. The competition will be in Washington, D.C. next month, where the national winner will have a chance to win up to a $20,000 cash award. These students have arrived at this moment, this afternoon, after progressively excelling in their classroom, school, and regional competitions. They've risen to the top from over 9,500 high school students in 39 high schools across the state, and they've been led and encouraged and guided by almost 200 teachers. Now I'm going to ask our regional finalists to come up onto the stage as I read their names and their schools. And one other thing you should all realize, as proud as we are of all of them, we're proud of Maine and Maine's role in this competition over the years. We have one of the highest participation rates from our high schools as compared to other states across the country. So we're really pleased that it's rooted in the school systems and the departments. So beginning with our champions from across Maine, Abigail Van Luling is here from Gorham High School. Hannah Lavinson is here from Messalonsky High School in Oakland. Lauren Farmer joins us from Rangeley Lakes Regional School. Next, we have Emma Lombardo from Westbrook High School. Nelson Peterson is here from Oak Hill High School. Lydia Karen represents Bangor High School this afternoon. Wyatt Bates represents Yarmouth High School. Richard Hilscher represents North Yarmouth Academy. Lauren Dodge is here from Lee Academy. Catherine Kemper brings greetings from the Camden Hills Regional High School. And last but not least, Alan Manga is here from Deering High School. So it's a little awkward for me. I'm addressing these remarks to these wonderful young people, and I'm behind them. So just pretend I'm facing you and looking you in the eye. So students, we are really inspired by your dedication to the recitation process, to your hard work, to your ability to bring the written word alive, to your comprehension of great poetry. Remember that as regional champions, you all are already winners. You've accomplished so much to be here this afternoon. We're proud of every one of you. Congratulations, and we look forward to listening to you this afternoon. Thanks. Yep, you guys can go back. Watch those creaky stairs. Choreography is grand. Before I go any further, I want to thank, I'll wait for them to be seated so we're all focused once again. I want to thank the teachers and the parents who supported and coached the students and in their recitations here today. None of these champions would be here this afternoon without your encouragement and love. I also want to thank the Maine Arts Commission staff, many of whom are here today. You'll find their names and titles in your program. But none of this would happen without the dedication and the fabulous work of all of the staff, including R.G. Nestor, who's our Director of Arts Education, Don Rudershan, who's our Poetry Out Loud State Coordinator, Ryan Layton is our Marketing and Communications Director. He's photographing the event, and Christina DeGroff has been R.G.'s assistant, working alongside R.G. this afternoon to tally the judges' scores. In addition, a special treat for all of us and for posterity, the Arts Commission is collaborating with the Booth Bay Region Television to broadcast this event via BRTV, and as well as live streaming it online through Facebook Live. We've come into the 21st century. It's really exciting. Thank you all so very much. I want to extend our thanks and appreciation to the judges who are seated in the back of the theater, who've already spent time getting ready for their important role this afternoon. Kathleen Ellis is here. She's a poet and a member of the English department at the University of Maine. Todd McKinley is an English language arts teacher and a teaching consultant for the Maine Writing Project. Dawn Potter is a poet and a visiting teaching artist and a guest faculty member. Like many people in this room, she wears many hats. And finally, Nick Turner is here, a playwright and acting director who is also the executive director of the Grand in Ellsworth. So as the afternoon proceeds, the judges will need a little bit of time to complete their responsibilities with each participant, so there'll be a slight pause between the recitations. And now it's my honor once again to turn the microphone over to a voice that's become a voice of Maine. Those of you who are in school may not have the chance to hear that voice in the afternoon, but maybe you hear the repeat in the evening. Jennifer Rooks is here once again, guiding us through the events. She's the public affairs host and producer at Maine Public. And we thank her very much for coming and doing this important work with us this afternoon. Help me welcome Jennifer.
I'm tall. Can you all hear me? Oh, yeah. So thank you. I'm really honored to be here at the Poetry Out Loud State Finals. I had no idea of those numbers from 9,500 down to 12. You all ought to be really, really proud of yourselves, no matter what happens today. Wow. And what a beautiful day for this. The sun is shining down, unlike last week. It's almost warm outside. We can feel spring. And we're in this beautiful historic opera house. We're going to get right to it, but I want to say to all of you, one thing that you may not realize about the poems that you've memorized for this process, for the Poetry Out Loud Finals, is that these poems are now a part of you, and they will be a part of you for the rest of your lives. You'll be going through experiences in your life, and they will remind you of a line in a poem that you memorized in high school for the State Poetry Out Loud Finals, or you'll recite them to your children or grandchildren. And so know that these poems are more than a contest. They're now a part of you, and aren't you lucky to have them as a part of you? And I hope that you'll feel that as you go through your life. So before we begin this afternoon's recitations by the regional champs seated here in the front row, there are a couple housekeeping issues. There are restrooms off the lobby and also across the skywalk. If there is an emergency, please follow any of the exit signs and do not use the elevators. When I was a young person, I worked at a TV station in San Francisco. There was an earthquake and our sports guy got stuck in the elevator. Never in an emergency use the elevator. It's true. Cell phones, put them on vibrate. Feel free to take non-flash photographer and tweet them along with your comments all over the globe. Okay, listen, at POL18, at I Am Poetry Out Loud. I'm going to repeat that, at POL18 and at I Am Poetry Out Loud. And there will be ample opportunity to take flash photos at the end of the event. If you must enter or exit the theater during the program, please do so during the applause and the short breaks between the student recitations, not while a student is on the stage. Each student has selected 3 poems, one for each round. One poem must have been written before the 20th century, and one must be 25 lines or fewer. A single poem may fulfill both requirements. Judging will be based on accuracy, physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, evidence of understanding, and overall performance. Today we have 3 rounds of recitation. The order will commence in a randomly selected order that was determined in advance and that will be honored for all 3 rounds. Each of our regional champions will recite in the first and second rounds. After the second round of poems, we will have a brief intermission, and before we proceed to the final round with those selected as state finalists. After the final round, we will hear from Adrian Blevins, a poet and associate professor of English at Colby College, and that's going to happen while the judges complete the final tally of the scores. Then we announce the 2018 Maine State Champion and runner-up and provide certificates to all the regional finalists. The Maine State Champion will receive $200 and a $500 stipend for the purchase of poetry books for the winner's school. The runner-up will receive $100 with $200 for his or her school library. The state champion will also receive an all-expense paid trip with a chaperone to compete in the national finals in Washington, D.C. on April 23rd to 25th. The Poetry Out Loud National Finals will award a total of $50,000 in cash awards and school stipends. With us today, seated in the front row with our reciters, is our official prompter, Larry DeBlois. Larry has a complete set of all the poems in the order that the students will recite them, and thank you, Larry, for your role in today's events. Now I'd like to begin. Our first regional finalist, if you would join us here on stage, Abigail Van Luling. Abby spends a lot of time singing in district and statewide festivals, performing in musicals, and doing work with a community service club. After college or university, she aspires to become an international businesswoman working with nonprofit organizations.
Please Don't, by Tony Hoagland. Please don't tell the flowers. They think the sun loves them. The grass is under the same simple-minded impression about the rain, the fog, the dew. And when the wind blows, it feels so good. They lose control of themselves and swab toggle wildly around, bumping accidentally into their slender neighbors. Forgetful little lotus eaters, solar-powered hydroholics drawing nourishment up through stems into their thin green skin, high on the expensive chemistry of mitochondrial explosion, believing that the dirt loves them, the night, the stars. Reaching down a little deeper with their pale albino roots, all dizzy Gillespie with the utter sufficiency of everything. They don't imagine lawnmowers, the four stomachs of the cow, or human beings with boots, who stop to marvel at their exquisite flexibility and color. They persist in their soft-headed hallucination of happiness. But please, don't mention it. Not yet. Tell me, what would you possibly gain from being right?
Our next reciter is Hannah Levinson from Messalonsky High School. Hannah is most interested in entering into some type of field that involves foreign language or elementary education.
Epitaph by Catherine Phillips. On her son H.P. at St. Sith's Church, where her body also lies interred. What on earth deserves our trust? Youth and beauty both are dust. Long we gathering are with pain. What one moment calls again? 7 years childless marriage past. A son is born at last, so exactly limbed and fair, full of good spirits, mien and air, as a long life promised. Yet, in less than 6 weeks, dead. Too promising, too great a mind in so small room to be confined. Therefore, as fit in heaven to dwell, he quickly broke the prison shell. So the subtle alchemist can't with Hermes' seal resist the powerful spirit's subtler flight, but 'twill bid him long good night. And so the sun, if it arise, half so glorious as his eyes, like this infant, takes a shroud, buried in a morning cloud.
Our next reciter is Lauren Farmer from Rangeley Lakes Regional School. Lauren loves photography, creative writing, reading, and reading some more. You're not the only one. She is constantly reminding herself to keep reading, writing, living, and dreaming.
Midnight Office by Cynthia Cruz. The child is not dead. She is sleeping, gone from this world which is broken. The angel of Michael outside the garden, his circle of fire maddening around the tree. He put the word back into her, a heavy kind of music. Then she was free, as we all are. All night I stood in the icy wind, praying for the storm to destroy me. But the wind blew through me like I was a hologram. If you say I am a mystic, then fine, I'm a mystic. The trees are not trees anyway.
Next is Emma Lombardo from Westbrook High School. Emma's very interested in music and hopes to incorporate this into a career that allows her to work with people to help benefit their futures. She volunteers in the nursery of her church and also at the middle school as part of the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southern Maine.
The Gaff by C.K. Williams. 1. If that someone who's me, yet not me, yet who judges me is always with me, as he is, shouldn't he have been there when I said so long ago that thing I said? If he who rakes me with such not trivial shame for minor sins now were there then, shouldn't he have warned me he'd even now devastate me for my unpardonable affront? I'm a child then, yet already I've composed this conscience beast who harries me. Is there anything else I can say with certainty about who I was, except that he, could already draw from infinitesimal transgressions complex chords of remorse and orchestrate ever undiminishing retribution from the hapless rest of myself? 2. The son of some friends of my parents has died, and my parents, paying their call, take me along, and I'm sent out with the dead boy's brother and some others to play. We're joking around, and some words come to my mind, which, to my amazement, are said. How do you know when you can laugh when somebody dies? Your brother dies, is what's said. And the others go quiet, the backyard goes quiet. Everyone stares. And I want to know now why that someone in me, who's me, yet not me, let me say it. Shouldn't he have told me the contrition cycle would from then be ever upon me? It didn't matter that I'd really only wanted to know how grief ends and when. 3. I could hear the boy's mother sobbing inside, then stopping, sobbing, then stopping. Was the end of her grief already there? Had her someone in her told her it would end? Was her someone in her kinder to her, not tearing at her as mine did, still does, me? For guessing grief someday ends? Is that why her sobbing stops sometimes? She didn't laugh, though, or I never heard her. How do you know when you can laugh? Why couldn't someone have been there in me, not just to accuse me, but to explain? The kids were playing again. I was playing. I didn't hear anything more from inside. The way now sometimes what's in me is silent too. And sometimes, though never really, forgets.
Our next reciter, Nelson Peterson from Oak Hill High School. Nick's interests include drama club and psychology. He aspires to go to medical school to become a psychiatrist.
Rondeau by Lee Hunt. Jenny kissed me when we met, jumping from the chair she sat in. Time. You thief, who love to get sweets into your list, put that in. Say I'm weary, say I'm sad. Say that health and wealth have missed me. Say I'm growing old. But add, Jenny kissed me.
You are watching the Maine Poetry Out Loud State Finals on Boothbay Region Television. This program is being televised before a live audience from the Waterville Opera House in downtown Waterville, Maine.
Our next reciter is Wyatt Bates from Yarmouth High School. Wyatt's interests include track and singing.
The Obligation to be Happy by Linda Paston. It is more onerous than the rights of beauty or housework, harder than love. But you expect it of me casually, the way you expect the sun to come up, not in spite of rain or clouds, but because of them. And so I smile, as if my own fidelity to sadness were a hidden vice, that downward tug on my mouth, my old suspicion that health and love are brief irrelevancies, no more than laughter in the warm dark strangled at dawn. Happiness. I try to hoist it on my narrow shoulders again. A knapsack, heavy, with gold coins. I stumble around the house, bump into things. Only Midas himself would understand.
Our next reciter, Richard Hilscher from North Yarmouth Academy. Rick is interested in acting and theater, and he particularly loves improv and sketch comedy. He will attend Northwestern University in the fall.
Requests for Toy Piano by Tony Hoagland. Play the one about the family of the ducks, where the ducks go down to the river, and one of them thinks the water will be cold, but then they jump in anyway and like it and splash around. No, I must play the one about the nervous man from Palestine in row 14 with a brown bag in his lap in which a gun is hidden in a sandwich. Play the one about the handsome man and woman standing on the steps of her apartment, and how the darkness and her perfume and the beating of their hearts conjoin to make them feel like leaping from the edge of chance. No, I should play the one about the hard rectangle of the credit card hidden in the man's back pocket, and how the woman spent an hour plucking out her brows, and how her perfume was made from the destruction of 100 flowers. Then play the one about the flower industry, in which the migrant workers cursed their own infected hands from tossing sheaves of roses and carnations into the back of the refrigerated trucks. No. I must play the one about the single yellow daffodil standing on my kitchen table, whose cut stem draws the water upwards, so the plant is flushed with the conviction that the water has been sent to find and raise it up from somewhere so deep inside the earth, not even flowers can remember.
Our next reciter, Lauren Dodge from Lee Academy. Lauren has a passion for the arts, reading, and for working along younger students. She aspires to become an English teacher as well as an author one day.
"13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird" by Wallace Stevens. 1. Among 20 snowy mountains, the only moving thing was the eye of the blackbird. 2. I was of 3 minds, like a tree in which there are 3 blackbirds. 3. the blackbird whirled in the autumn winds. It was a small part of the pantomime. 4. A man and a woman are one. A man and a woman and a blackbird are one. 5. I do not know which to prefer, the beauty of inflections or the beauty of innuendos, the blackbird whistling, or just after. 6. Icicles filled the long window with barbaric glass. The shadow of the blackbird crossed it, to and fro. The mood traced in the shadow an indecipherable cause. 7. Oh, thin men of Haddam, why do you imagine golden birds? Do you not see how the blackbird walks around the feet of the women about you? 8. I know noble accents and lucid, inescapable rhythms, but I know too that the blackbird is involved in what I know. 9. When the blackbird flew out of sight, it marked the edge of one of many circles. 10. At the sight of blackbirds flying in a green light, even the bawds of euphony would cry out sharply. 11. He rode over Connecticut in a glass coach. Once, a fear pierced him in that he mistook the shadow of his equipage for blackbirds. 12. The river is moving. The blackbird must be flying. 13. It was evening all afternoon. It was snowing and it was going to snow. The blackbird sat in the cedar limbs.
Our next reciter, Catherine Kemper from Camden Hills Regional High School. Kate loves singing and drawing with colored pencils, and she is a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She's very interested in physics and astronomy.
Acquainted with the Night by Robert Frost. I have been one acquainted with the night. I have walked out in rain and back in rain. I have outwalked the furthest city light. I have looked down the saddest city lane. I have passed by the watchman on his beat and dropped my eyes, unwilling to explain. I have stood still and stopped the sound of feet when far away an interrupted cry came over houses from another street. But not to call me back or say goodbye. And further still, at an unearthly height, one luminary clock against the sky proclaimed the time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night.
Our next reciter, Alan Manga from Deering High School. Alan's interests include sports and fitness, family, and aviation. He was born and raised in Zambia and speaks 8 languages.
The Song of the Smoke by W.E.B. Du Bois. I am the smoke king. I am black. I am swinging in the sky. I am ringing worlds awry. I am the thought of the throbbing males. I am the soul of the soul toil kills. Wraith of the ripple of treading reels, up I'm curling from the sod. I am whirling home to God. I am the smoke king. I am black. I am the smoke king. I am black. I am weaving broken hearts. I am sheathing love's light darts. Inspiration of iron times, within the toil of toiling climes, shedding the blood of bloodless crimes. Lurid lowering met the blue, torrid towering towards the true. I am the smoke king. I am black. I am the smoke king. I am black. I am darkening with song. I am hearkening to wrong. I will be black as blackness can. The blacker the mantle, the mightier the man. For blackness was ancient and whiteness began. I am daubing God in night. I am swabbing hell in white. I am the smoke king. I am black. I am the smoke king. I am black. I am cursing ruddy morn. I am hearsing hearts and bone. Souls unto me are as stars in the night. I whiten my black men, I blacken my white. What's the hue of a high to a man in his might? Hell, great, greedy, grimy hands. Sweet Christ, pity toiling lands. I am the smoke king. I am black.
Don't put your hands in your pockets. We're going to give another round of applause to all of our student reciters from round one. And now we move directly into round two, after which we will have a brief intermission. So let's welcome back to the stage Abigail Van Luling. She's a senior in the 12th grade at Gorham High School. Abby's favorite subjects in school are Latin, math, and the musical arts.
Zacuan Papalotos by Brenda Cardenas, in memory of Jose Antonio Burciaga, 1947 to 1996. We are chameleons. We become chameleon. Jose Antonio Burciaga. We are space between, the black-orange blur of a million monarchs on their two-generation migration south to fur-crowned Michoacan, where tree trunks will sprout feathers, a forest of paper-thin wings. Our Mexica cocooned in the membranes de la Madre Tierra, say we are reborn Zacuan Papalotos, mariposas negras y anaranjadas, in whose sweep the dead whisper. We are between, the flicker of a chameleon's tail that turns his desert blue backbone to jade or pink sand, the snake-skinned fraternal twins of solstice and equinox. The ashen dawn, silvering dusk, la oración as it leaves the lips, the tug from sleep, the glide into dream, that husk-out mestizo memory. We Our one life, passing through the prism of all others, gathering color and song, sempasuchil and drum, to leave a rhythm scattered on the wind, dust tinting on the tips of fingers, as we slip into our new light.
Next, Hannah Lavinson, a 10th grader at Messalonsky High School. Hannah really enjoys her literature and Latin classes at school. She writes that her Poetry Out Loud experience has broadened her view not only of poetry, but also of the people who take an interest in it, and that the people she has met have inspired her to constantly do better.
Snow Day by Billy Collins. Today, we woke up to a revolution of snow, its white flag waving over everything. The landscape vanished. Not a single mouse to punctuate the blankness. And beyond these windows, the government buildings smothered, the schools and libraries buried, the post office under the noiseless drift, the paths of trains softly blocked, the world fallen under this falling. In a while, I will put on some boots and step out like someone walking in water, and the dog will porpoise through the drifts, and I will shake a laden branch, sending a cold shower down on us both. But for now, I'm a willing prisoner in this house, a sympathizer with the anarchic cause of snow. I will make a pot of tea and listen to the plastic radio on the counter, as glad as anyone to hear the news that the Kitty Corner School is closed, the Ding Dong School closed, the All Aboard Children's Center closed, the Hi-Ho Nursery School closed, along with, some will be delighted to hear, the Toadstool School, the Little School, Little Sparrow's Nursery School, Little Stars Preschool, Peas and Carrots Day School, the Tom Thumb Child Center, all closed, along with, clap your hands, the Peanuts Play School. So, this is where the children hide all day. These are the nests where they letter and draw, where they put on their bright miniature jackets, all darting and climbing and sliding. All but the few girls whispering by the fence. And now, I'm listening hard, in the grandiose silence of the snow, trying to hear what those 3 girls are plotting. What riot is afoot? Which small queen is about to be brought down?
Our next reciter, Lauren Farmer, who's a 10th grader at Rangeley Lakes Regional School. In school, Lauren truly enjoys English, advanced graphics, and Spanish. After having watched the entire Poetry Out Loud process last year, from the classroom to the stage to attending the Northern Regional Finals, she was very excited to find her voice for this year's competition.
In School Days by John Greenleaf Whittier. Still sits the schoolhouse by the road, a ragged beggar sleeping. Around it still the sumacs grow and blackberry vines are creeping. Within, the master's desk is seen, deep scarred by raps official. The warping floor, the battered seats, the jackknife's carved initial. The charcoal frescoes on its wall, its door's worn sill, betraying the feet that creeping slow to school went storming out to playing. Long years ago, a winter sun shone over it at setting, lit up its western window panes and low eaves' icy fretting. It touched the tangled golden curls and brown eyes full of grieving, of one who still her steps delayed when all the school were leaving. For near her stood the little boy her childish favor singled, his cap pulled low upon a face where pride and shame were mingled. Pushing with restless feet the snow to right and left, he lingered, as restlessly her tiny hands the blue-checked apron fingered. He saw her lift her eyes. He felt the soft hands light caressing, and heard the tremble of her voice, as if a fault confessing. I'm sorry that I spelt the word. I hate to go above you, because the brown eyes lower fell. Because you see, I love you. Still memory to a gray-haired man, that sweet child face is showing. Dear girl, the grasses on her grave have 40 years been growing. He lives to learn in life's hard school how few who pass above him lament their triumph and his loss, like her, because they love him.
Our next reciter, Emma Lombardo, an 11th grader at Westbrook High School. Emma's favorite academic subjects are math, English, and psychology. In Poetry Out Loud this year, she came across a poem that spoke to her in a significant way and had a message she could personally relate to, which changed her entire Poetry Out Loud experience.
Mingus at the Showplace by William Matthews. I was miserable, of course, for I was 17. And so I swung into action and wrote a poem. And it was miserable, for that was how I thought poetry worked. You digested experience and shat literature. It was 1960 at the Showplace, long since defunct, on West 4th Street, and I sat at the bar, casting beer money from a thin reel of ones. The kid in the city, big ears like a puppy. And I knew Mingus was a genius. I knew 2 other things, but they were wrong, as it happened. So I made him look at the poem. There's a lot of that going around, he said. And sweet baby Jesus, he was right. He laughed amiably. He didn't look as if he thought bad poems were dangerous, the way some poets do. If they were baseball executives, they'd plot to destroy sandlots everywhere so that the game could be saved from children. Of course, later that night, he fired his pianist in mid-number and flurried him from the stand. We've suffered a diminuendo in personnel, he explained. And the band played on.
Our next reciter, Nelson Peterson, a 12th grader at Oak Hill High School. Nick's favorite academic subject is English. He writes that Poetry Out Loud is super intense and fun and that he's having a great time participating.
From Space to Time by Carolyn M. Rogers. On a day when we were dark and not so full of light, we met. What did we find? Nothing. Everything. When we closed our eyes, which anyway had never been opened. Once, we thought we loved each other. Who can reverse time? We tried. We stepped out of space into some new step of distance and fell. And not in love.
Next, we have Lydia Karen, a 12th grader at Bangor High School. Lydia's favorite academic subjects are English and biology. Having participated in Poetry Out Loud for the past 4 years, she writes that the program has given her an amazing opportunity to connect poetry with performance and to push herself to love poetry in a new and exciting way.
Night Magic, Blue Jester by Lorna de Cervantes. After Federico Garcia Lorca. Blue that I love you. Blue that I hate you. Fat blue in the face, disgraced blue that I erase. You lone blue, blue of an alien race. Strong blue, eternally graced. Blue that I know you. Blue that I choose you. Crust blue, chunky blue, moon blue glows that despise you, idolize you. Blue and the band disappears. Blue of the single left dog, blue of the eminent red fog, blue that I glue you to me, you again and again, blue. Blue, blue of the helium bubble of love lost, blue of the whirlwind, the blue being again, blue of the endless rain, blue that I paint you, blue that I knew you. Blue of the blinking lights, blue of the landing at full tilt, blue of the wilt flower of nightfall. Blue of the shadow in yellowed windows, blue of the blown and broken glass, blue of the blue line under lines in blue. Blue of the ascending nude. Blue before the blackness of new blue, of our winsome bedlam, blue of the blue bed alone, blue of the one who looks on, blue of what remains of cement fall, blue of the vague crescent ship sailing, blue of the rainbow of wait, blue that I whore you, blue that I adore you. Blue of the bluest door, blue my painted city. In blue, it blew.
Our next reciter, Wyatt Bates, an 11th grader at Yarmouth High School. Wyatt's favorite school subjects are math and science.
Dirge Without Music by Edna St. Vincent Millay. I am not resigned to the shutting away of loving hearts in the hard ground. So it is, and so it will be, for so it has been, time out of mind. Into the darkness they go, the wise and the lonely, crowned with lilies and with laurel they go. But I am not resigned. Lovers and thinkers, into the earth with you. Be one with the dull, the indiscriminate dust. A fragment of what you felt, of what you knew. A formula, a phrase remains. But the best is lost. The answers, quick and keen. The honest look, the laughter, the love. They are gone. They are gone to feed the roses. Elegant and curled is the blossom, fragrant is the blossom I know. But I do not approve. More precious was the light in your eyes than all the roses in the world. Down, down, down into the darkness of the grave. Gently, they go. The beautiful, the tender, the kind. Quietly they go. The intelligent, the witty, the brave. I know, but I do not approve, and I am not resigned.
Our next reciter, Richard Hilscher, a 12th grader at North Yarmouth Academy. Rick's favorite subjects in school are English and math.
The Affliction of Richard by Robert Bridges. Love not too much. But how? When thou hast made me such, and dost thy gifts bestow, how can I love too much? Though I must fear to lose and drown my joy in care, with all its thorns, I choose the path of love and prayer. Though thou, I know not why, didst kill my childish trust, that breach with toil did I repair, because I must. And spite of frighting schemes with which the fiends of hell blaspheme thee in my dreams, so far I have hoped well. But what the heavenly key, what marvel in me wrought, shall quite exculpate thee, I have no shadow of thought. What am I that complain? The love from which began my question, sad and vain, justifies thee to man.
Our next reciter, Lauren Dodge, who's a 12th grader at Lee Academy. Lauren's favorite subjects in school are English and French. She writes that poetry out loud is super fun as well as educational. She has been inspired by both the art of recitation and the poems she has recited.
Song, Go and Catch a Falling Star by John Donne. Go and catch a falling star. Get with child a mandrake root. Tell me, where all past years are, or who cleft the devil's foot. Teach me to hear mermaids singing, or to keep off envy stinging, and find what wind serves to advance an honest mind. If thou be'st born to strange sights, things invisible to see, ride 10,000 days and nights till age snow-white hairs on thee. Thou, when thou return'st, wilt tell me all strange wonders that befell thee, and swear nowhere lives a woman true and fair. If thou find'st one, let me know. Such a pilgrimage were sweet. Yet do not, I would not go, though at next door we might meet, though she were true. When you met her, and last, till you write your letter, yet she will be false ere I come to 2 or 3.
Next, Catherine Kemper, a 10th grader at Camden Hills Regional High School. Kate really enjoys art, physics, and music in school. She finds that participating in the Poetry Out Loud program helps with confidence, acting ability, clear speech, and public speaking.
The Kiss by Robert Graves. Are you shaken? Are you stirred by a whisper of love? Spellbound to a word, does time cease to move till her calm gray eye expands to a sky, and the clouds of her hair like storms go by? Then the lips that you have kissed turn to frost and fire, and a white steaming mist obscures desire. So back to their birth fade water, air, earth, and the first power moves over void and dearth. Is that love? No, but death, a passion, a shout, the deep in-breath, the breath roaring out. And once that is flown, you must lie alone, without hope, without life, poor flesh, sad bone.
Our next reciter, Alan Manga, is an 11th grader at Deering High School. Alan's favorite school subjects are math and English. He's excited to be part of this wonderful program and thinks Poetry Out Loud is a wonderful platform for young poets to express themselves and other people's words.
She Walks in Beauty by Lord Byron, George Gordon. She walks in beauty, like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear the dwelling place. And on that cheek, and all that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent. The smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days and goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent.
That concludes the first part of our program. We're going to have another round of applause for all those phenomenal reciters. Now we have a 10-minute intermission before returning to hear another performance by the Waterville Senior High School Jazz Band, followed by the announcement of the state finalists, and then proceeding to the third and final round of recitations.
Poetry Out Loud is made possible with funding from the National Endowment for the Arts and the Poetry Foundation in partnership with the Maine Arts Commission. The Maine Poetry Out Loud Recitation Contest is produced and administered by the Maine Arts Commission. Poetry Out Loud encourages students to learn about great poetry through memorization and recitation. This program helps students master public speaking skills, build self-confidence, and learn about literary history and contemporary life. To learn more about Poetry Out Loud, visit mainearts.com.
It's we who do such things. We who set the slant.
Let me stumble into not the confession, but the obsession I begin with now.
In the intensity of its own fires. Sparrows dart between the columns like music. I am darkening with song, I am hearkening to wrong. I will be as black as blackness can.
By the time you're a senior, you know really what you're doing and you're comfortable performing.
High on the expensive chemistry of mitochondrial explosion. Frosted eyes there were that lifted altars.
And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright.
If you are selected as a finalist.
Yes, I would thank my teachers and my mom because she's been practicing with me as well.
Maine state champion is Gabrielle Cooper.
We are a community collaborative. We're made up of more than 24 local organizations. We've all come together with a common purpose of helping our neighbors in need and lifting up one another.
We have families that are here all year round who are in need, and you don't usually see that or acknowledge that.
It's easy to talk about it, but you got to put feet to it. You got to do something about it.
The Community Navigator program is a free program.
People come to her and she tells them where to go.
She's able to work with them on their most basic needs and help navigate through the pathways and the troubled parts of life.
It's a wonderful central piece of what BRCRC does.
All of the programs are servicing this community 100%.
Through Boothbay Region Community Resources, we are able to provide to our neighbors most in need the things they need to remain independent.
We are open and welcome.
There it is on the wheel. The other one. Okay, here we go. I'm driving.
Our day begins before the first light reaches our shores, where the sea swells and the squawking gulls make up our morning commute. It's then when the coastline recedes from our view. Our eyes are fixed on bringing home the catch.
Before the balmy days of summer warms us from winter's chill, our way of life lives on.
Some may call it a destination, a paradise. Where work or play, it's just a matter of opinion.
We call it home.
Welcome to the Boothbay region.
Home is a rocky coast pointing out to sea.
It's our pearl in mid-coast Maine.
Home is craft.
And locally produced. It's whichever way the wind blows.
Home to over 2,000 acres of natural hiking trails and islands to explore.
Where the peak season all depends on what you're into.
Where the fun continues long after sundown.
This is a place where community matters.
Where the people find peace and are proud of what they stand for.
Where innovation constantly reinvents itself.
And family traditions carry on.
It matters not if you're wealthy or from away.
Everyone is treated the same here.
Whether you're a fisherman,
a sightseer,
or casual passerby.
There's something here for just about everybody.
And when the skies get dark and the storm surges,
we will be your beacon of light.
We will be your safeguard through the night.
To weather the storm when the seas get rough.
Home will always be here.
So come explore our rocky shores.
Come explore our backyard.
And discover paths less traveled. A new adventure is about to start.
And the simpler life awaits. It's all here.
It's all here.
It's all here.
It's all here in the Boothbay region.
I didn't want to go up the squeaky stairs while the band was playing. Are you all back? So that, as you may remember from the beginning of this program tonight, was the Waterville Senior High School Jazz Band. Before we announce our state finalists, let's offer a round of applause for all the students here today in recognition of their hard work and superb performances. All right, now we have the state finalists. Our state finalists are Abigail Van Luling, Emma Lombardo, Lydia Karen, Richard Hilscher, Lauren Dodge, and Alan Manga. Congratulations. We'll call Abigail Van Luling onto the stage again. Abigail, a senior at Gorham High School.
Tall Ambrosia by Henry David Thoreau. Among the signs of autumn I perceive the Roman wormwood, called by learned men Ambrosia elatior, food for gods. For to impartial science, the humblest weed is as immortal once as the proudest flower sprinkles its yellow dust over my shoes as I cross the now neglected garden. We trample underfoot the food of gods and spill their nectar in each drop of dew. My honest shoes, fast friends that never stray, far from my couch, thus powdered, countrified, bearing many a mile the marks of their adventure. At the post house, disgrace the Gallic gloss of those well-dressed ones who no morning dew nor Roman wormwood ever have been through, who never walk but are transported, rather, for what old crime of theirs I do not gather.
Our next state finalist, Emma Lombardo, an 11th grader at Westbrook High School.
Tall Ambrosia by Henry David Thoreau. Among the signs of autumn, I perceive the Roman wormwood, called by learned men Ambrosia elatior, food for gods. For to impartial science, the humblest weed is as immortal once as the proudest flower. Sprinkles its yellow dust over my shoes as I cross the now neglected garden. We trample underfoot the food of gods and spill their nectar in each drop of dew. My honest shoes, fast friends that never stray far from my couch, thus powdered, countrified, bearing many a mile the marks of their adventure. At the post house, disgrace the Gallic gloss of those well-dressed ones, who no morning dew, nor Roman wormwood, ever have been through, who never walk, but are transported rather. For what old crime of theirs I do not gather.
Our next recitation will be by Lydia Karen, a 12th grader at Bangor High School.
The Windhover by Gerard Manley Hopkins. To Christ our Lord. I caught this morning morning's minion, kingdom of daylight's dauphin, dappled dawn-drawn falcon. In his riding of the rolling level underneath him steady air, and striding high there, how he rung upon the rein of a wimpling wing in his ecstasy. Then off forth on swing, as a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend, the hurl and gliding rebuffed the big wind. My heart in hiding stirred for a bird, the achieve of, the mastery of the thing. Brute, beauty and valor and act, oh air, pride, plume, here, buckle. And the fire that breaks from thee then, a billion times told lovelier, more dangerous, oh my chevalier. No wonder of it. Sheer plod makes plow down Sicilian shine. And blue bleak embers, ah, my dear, fall, gall themselves, and gash gold vermilion.
Our next recitation, Richard Hilscher, a 12th grader at North Yarmouth Academy.
Where the Wild Things Go by D. Gilson. The night Max wore his wolf suit made him infamous. Bred the child star, never sent to bed. Middle school, Max started drinking. Not in my house, his mother begged. No, 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 wild thing. Max reminded her who bought this condo, who paid for her meds. Freshman year, Max raved, roared his terrible roar, rolled, and almost wound up in a warehouse dead. Where, oh, where do the wild things go? To rehab in high school, to college on residual book sales. Max kept his head down, laughed at drunken frat boys. Bro, let the wild rumpus start. Max said, no thanks, and volunteered for the Peace Corps instead. 2 years in Kenya, 1 in Belarus, the president thought, Max might be of some use. Max moved to Washington, appointed at the State Department a cultural attaché. One important day, Max wore his wolf gray suit, then drove home well past rush hour in a freak snowstorm. Max drove on the deserted beltway, thought it his throne. Yes, Max belted. This is where the wild things roam.
Our next recitation, Lauren Dodge, a 12th grader at Lee Academy.
Undivided Attention by Taylor Molly. A grand piano, wrapped in quilted pads by movers, tied up with canvas straps,
like classical music's birthday gift to the criminally insane, is gently nudged without its legs out an 8th floor window on 62nd Street. It dangles in April air from the neck of the mover's crane. Chopin shiny, black lacquer squares and dirty white crisscross patterns hanging like the second to last note of a concerto played on the edge of the seat, the edge of tears, the edge of 8 stories up going over. It's a piano being pushed out of a window and lowered down onto a flatbed truck. And I'm trying to teach math in the building across the street. Who can teach when there are such lessons to be learned? All the greatest common factors are delivered by long-necked cranes and flatbed trucks, or come through everything, even air, like snow. See, snow falls for the first time every year, and every year my students rush to the window as if snow were more interesting than math, which, of course, it is. So please, let me teach like a Steinway, spinning slowly in April air, so almost falling, so hinderingly dangling from the neck of the mover's crane, so on the edge of losing everything. Let me teach like the first snow falling.
Our next recitation, Alan Manga, 11th grader at Deering High School.
In the Desert by Stephen Crane. In the desert, I saw a creature, naked, bestial, who, squatting upon the ground, held his heart in his hands and ate of it. I said, "Is it good, friend?" "It is bitter, bitter," he answered. "But I like it because it is bitter and because it is my heart."
That concludes round 3. While the judges complete their final deliberations, we have something special for you. Julie Richard? Hi.
I'm actually not what's special. You're special. I'm the Executive Director of the Maine Arts Commission, and I'd like to thank you all for coming again today, and let's give the students all a big round of applause. They all worked so hard to be here, and I don't envy the judges and their decisions today. But now it is my distinct pleasure to welcome to the stage poet Adrian Blevins, who is an associate professor of English at Colby College right here in Waterville. Adrian's book, The Brass Girl Brouhaha, published in 2003, won the 2004 Kate Tufts Discovery Award. She is also the recipient of a Rona Jaffe Writers Foundation Award for Poetry, the Lamar York Prize for Nonfiction, and a Bright Hill Press Chapbook Award. Regarding her book, Appalachians Run Amok, for which she received the Wilder Poetry Book Prize, poet Amy Gersler wrote, "When you're lucky enough to get your hands on a book of poems this alive, everything you say about it feels like an understatement. Reading her beautifully, linguistically limber, cascading descriptions is like shooting the rapids with an expert river rider at the helm." That's poetry in itself, isn't it? And poet Toni Hoagland wrote of her collection, Live from the Homesick Jamboree, "This is the American voice that I've been waiting for. Robust, complex, passionate, sassy, crucified, and amused." Welcome, Adrian Blevins.
You guys, that was just marvelous. I know a lot of those poems, and you just did a marvelous job. And it just, when I was a kid, the Poetry Foundation and the National Endowment didn't have anything like this. We had football and we had, running. I don't know what we had. We didn't have poetry, and it just does my heart so good. And I think every single last one of you did a beautiful job. Can you hear? All right. There's Nate. So also, is that better? You guys know that reading poetry and reciting poetry is a gateway drug to writing it. And I encourage you to do that. Even those of you who are going into medical school and you're going in to be engineers. Einstein wrote poetry. Lots of people write poetry. And I think it's just, it's essential. Poetry is a language, and, it's an art form in every language, even languages that don't have that aren't written down, we have sort of poetry. So there's something absolutely central about poetry in that, that's important to our species. I have a little Toni Hoagland joke I want to tell you. But first, I also want to tell you, for those of you who are nearby, Colby has a reading downtown at the Reddington Museum. This coming Thursday, we're going to have one. And 2 writers from Maine. We usually have a poet and a fiction writer come. We have a nice reception by Meridians. So if you guys want to come to that, there's all kinds of poetry all over the place this Thursday at the Reddington Museum. And so please come if you can. Some of you I know have come from a long way. One thing that's hard about being up here is that all you guys are dark. So you're just like looking into an abyss. Tony was my great teacher, and my husband and I lived in Waterville. We've been here. You can hear a Southern accent, so I'm a Southern writer. I'm from Virginia. And my son was, he's maybe a 10th grader, 11th grader at Waterville High School. I think these people have since moved on. And they were doing a poetry unit. Probably was some kind of poetry out loud thing. And, they were choosing the poems, and there was a Toni Hoagland poem that he was going to do. And he goes, that dude gave me 4 quarters. And he got in trouble and got sent to the principal's office because she didn't believe him. And sure enough, Tony was visiting, and he came home from school, and he said, "Mom, do you have any money?" And I'm like, "I'm doting, and I don't have any money." And Tony said, "Well, I've got 4 quarters." He went to his car and he scrambled around and got 4 quarters to give to my son. He also has a wonderful little book that I highly recommend called 20 Little Poems That Could Save America. It's a sort of this argument that we need to get poetry back into the sort of the body politic, and that it is a way to sort of save the country. So I highly recommend it. You can find it on Amazon. All right, so I'm just going to read 3 poems from Appalachians Run Amok, and I'm going to read them in the order that my husband told me to. This is called Love in the Blue Ridge. Love in the Blue Ridge. I know a lot of mountain people who leave home for maybe 24 hours like they think they're obliged, like they think they signed a contract, but must return ASAP, is my point, to lie flat on the ground, to slowly rub the Kentucky bluegrass and even the hairy bitter grass, no matter the season or temperature or state of general health, and weep almost a little or a lot and sigh, which is how you learn what love is in the Blue Ridge. how tied to the earth love is, how like it's where the chicken coop is, like love basically depends on the chicken coop, or just the shadow the chicken coop used to cast. Now that the chicken coop has been eliminated, like the ghost of the chicken coop stains the ambiance, like love's a hurricane of feathers and beating hearts and livers and eggs and nesting boxes and gristle and blood, flying everywhere with that fox in the spirit coop with us, biting us together by biting us to time, as to the air and the wind and the limestone itself, as to a grave-esque void that is not a void so much as a body richness and a tenderness and even a roundness or a weird oneness that is also potentially sentimental, I know, but is meanwhile also a wholeness, is my point, and a holiness. Meaning we know where home is, as in where the holes are, meaning how to enter them and what they're made of, and how to dwell in that hovel and trounce it and fill it and stay. I've been going through this really weird thing where every poem I write ends in a fox, and that's the first fox poem in this book, and I've written like 4 other ones, and I don't know how to resolve the poem, and so I just throw a fox in. And then everything seems to, it's really weird. I don't know what that's about. This is called Meditation at the Car Lot, and it's exactly what it is. And we live in East Winthrop now, and you have to get to our house, you have to go through these just acres, not acres, but I'm exaggerating a little bit. Maybe it is at least 2 acres, 3 acres of cars to get to our house, and it sort of distresses me. Meditation at the Car Lot. It's anyone against the wind tonight, and each of us also against, and to what avail, some sick taint in the broccoli, raining through our guts like venom. It's anyone against MS tonight, and whatever cells fall too low in general excellence. And it's me in particular in my head tonight against the 10 onslaught of the car lot. That's really an onslaught, I think, against the earthly essence, where once did yummy chickens hatch and dwell and die. Where once was the farm of Mr. McDonald and a sweet northern orchard, where once were apples plus other apples, and one could flutter down one's old granny's old granny quilt, and upon it lay a basket. Hey, say me saying this is kind of like an axe, and that an axe is kind of like a warning sign someone put on a piece of wood all those years ago when the daft lumberjacks began their foul felling until we got this Nissan and this Honda and this other Nissan and this other Honda and this GMC truck thing and this other one, another one, another one, another one, another one. Nothing like, but just as grotesque as the felled and rotted heads of horses and the felled and rotted heads of cows and goats, and even 2 or 3 boys and girls who passed by here all those years ago thinking, what a good-looking paddock, what a Manet. These poems are getting, as I'm working on a new poem, I want to call this new book, this is Appalachians Run Amok, but my 3rd book, I kind of want to call it Status Report, where I'm trying to write as many poems as I can with the word status in the title, Facebook status and status report and, immigration status. And I think it started, a lot of it is environmental poems about the environment, and it's just in foxes, apparently. And my concern for them, they're feisty, though, and so I think they'll probably be okay. This last poem is called Love Poem for the Proles, as in the proletariat. My unpredictability cancels out my fidelity, which cancels out my trifling punk rock of a country heart, which loves ruin more than Easter eggs, and real eggs laid by real birds in real nests, more than the female nakedness in the burnished black jacket, trying to sell me something here on the HuffPo, where I spend all day going from bad news commotion to worse news upshot, like it's my expertise to catalog the 21st century's decomposition, like I went to school for that and wrote a book on that, when really I'm just lazy and domestic. Not yet a granny in her rocker on a porch in West Virginia, but little half-pink roses on smocks and a fat philodendron in a white wire basket. I want to contradict the fluttering hanging afters of woodpeckers with suet and the white light of the Maine sun this one-day winter day with maybe an umbrella that I want to buy at the Pottery Barn in Kittery because the ads everywhere for them have evidently entered the wanton me who's easy to dupe. As another contradiction I forgot to mention is I'm a yacht of yearning for cotton sheets. I'm a cruise liner of lust for porcelain. And inside the uterus, too, since there's no small human swelling to cost me money there, I count 6 or 7 at least tiny blue bottles for holding sad little notes, marking my need for leather bags and a new suitcase that isn't covered in airport dirt and skinny jeans and boots, and other overt markers of my leftist good intentions, such as bumper stickers to put on the suitcase, saying in pithy little phrases in especially hipster font how I completely relate to the working stiffs jackhammering out there right now, a new smooth street, not ruined by potholes, so I might get in my Honda and drive by them and wave a wave, saying they are they and I am they too, in a way, thanks to my love for them. Hello, Michael, Johnny, Catherine, Isabella, and Duke. I am guilty of bad things, such as I drank a gin last night in a nice hotel that I later heard you were boycotting for better wages. So I'm writing this apologia for me in America that will not feed you to you. Thank you, guys. There's so this book just came out. I want, if any students, any secret poetry writers out there want to email me, just find me at Colby and email me, and we can chat, and we can talk about where the poets are, where to go study them when you go to college, or any kinds of things like that. And congratulations to everybody for doing such a wonderful job. I'll read more. Appalachians Run Amok. Amazon.com. All right. Let's see. A Maine poem. All right. How radical can we get? I'll read 2 more poems. This is Memo. The middle section of the book is about my 3 kids, the ones who Tony gave quarters to. Memo. Even the large babes were small. They were like 2 empty toilet paper tubes you glue together into a bazooka to blow at the cosmos through. They were like hummingbirds on a spit. Hummingbirds, goldfinches, wrens, something that's got its feathers all wet in the rain out there in the wind. This was when I was still so young and even more combustible, when all I wanted was to sit on the ledge to the left there and drink a little and smoke. That is, I was a big fretter. I had a worried brain. I couldn't stop counting what was 19 inches long, 19 or 20, like the foot plus not even the whole calf of my little sister. Like certain black roasting pans in my mother's pantry. Like her dark green throw pillows not exactly everywhere. Like the trees behind the house that work so hard to be tall and kill pansies. Like the bosters of banisters spinning on the table in the cabinet maker's shop. Maybe that's where they'd put the elfin casket, if it came to that. I wanted something simple and plain, pine maybe, something with the texture of goose down as it degraded to sawdust, so the baby's littleness could be married inside that darkness to some kind of softness like frayed wheat. This was when I was 22. I had, as the saying goes, my whole life to look forward to. The new little thing was giggling over there on a blanket, eyeing the world as it flitted and sang. The new little thing was all hot sequin and dazzle and cute pea flaunt. Nobody was dying. Nobody was even the slightest bit sick. Still, I sat there wedged inside myself, waiting for whatever gods to come on and ruin it. That is, as regards the serrated heaviness I seemed to have to carry along inside me with its old edge hanging like a leaf from the top of the collarbone to a certain nervy line just above the pubes. I'm talking about what feeling that feels like, what having the little ones did to me, and how much each trifling half inch as they would grow would ache. It is 27 bobby pins and a long bloody row. It is a spatula. It is a riding harrow. It is the plow and the rake. It is the spade. That's a sad poem. All right. I will read one funny one so you can get over that. This is called Poem with Attitude Wearing Red Flannel. Also, Maine is about how I don't like cities. One of the things I'm trying to do in the way Southwest Virginia, where I'm from, Appalachia and Maine are similar, is I'm trying to sort of figure out how to write a rural poetry that isn't too sentimental, if that makes any sense, right? But I'm really actively trying to write poetry about Maine and about where I'm from. So, Poem with Attitude Wearing Red Flannel. In other news, I'm happiest in the country going from place to place in the early spring, looking for objects that are not, in my humble opinion, not too hideous, like this almost translucent little Japanese ball and this not quite pornographic sham Victorian thing. In cities, I'm always hot and restless, as in kind of claustrophobic and a wee bit suicidal, as though I'm pregnant again and the emergent fetus is crushing my vital organs again, like it's the 1980s again, and in order to make the owner of a retail place just off the Lee Highway let me use the bathroom, I've got to boost my southern accent, like actresses do in movies, featuring hair salons and diners, because apparently filmmakers know jack shit about southern girls, except that they talk in a lilt the filmmakers like to exploit, because apparently filmmakers think vowel sounds are sexy, which of course they are. So what I'm saying is, being in New York or Chicago or LA is to me like having to pee while driving on the highway in the 1980s when you're heavy with child and have to stop at the Exxon to use what the people call the facilities. But unfortunately for you, the facilities are locked, meaning now you've got to pretend to the Southern man behind the counter that you're more Southern than even his very own mama is, saying, "Hon," and "bless your heart," and "upon my word," and all like that, until you're more cliche than the filmmakers exploiting the actresses in the pigeonholing movies, because that's apparently what's required to make the fat redneck behind the counter hand over the big key to your liberation in the nasty little bathroom where you hope your impending child won't get syphilis or chlamydia from the fixtures, or to decide to join the Tea Party once grown, because if there's one thing you don't like more than a city, it's a Republican. And anyway, you're actually pretty country in actual reality in your red flannel shirt and big brown truck, going from yard sale to yard sale in the early spring, singing twangy songs to the robins and the hogs. So here in the 14th March of the 21st century, before the summer you turn 50, let's please just remember that, plus the additional and equally important bonus fact of how you're finally sophisticated enough to end a poem by saying, F you, I do, to the haughty and the shallow and the scheming and the affected, and their sly white apartments and fake feather boas, preferring evermore spring and the robins and even the hogs, heating up the old world again to a ruckus and a fuss. Okay. Thank you.
What a treat. Another round of applause for Adrienne Blevins. Thank you, Adrienne. I went to college in Virginia. I love hearing the accent. It's been a long time. It just makes me happy. So anyway, we're setting up before we have the big announcements. I kind of like this part and I kind of hate this part, because what do you think about poetry as being something that is competitive? I mean, it's weird because it's all wonderful and you are all wonderful. So anyway, it is what it is. I'm waiting for you all to tell me you're ready. Okay, thumbs up. That's the sign. So I'll just give you a little bit of information. Each student will receive an award and a certificate for his or her participation in today's Poetry Out Loud Maine State Finals. The state champion and runner-up will receive special awards for their accomplishments. In addition, each reciter today will receive a signed copy of Maine poet Don Potter's third collection of poetry entitled Same Old Story. We thank Cavan Carey Press Limited for donating these books. First, I'm going to ask the regional finalists to step forward and receive their awards. So could we please have Hannah Lavinson from Messalonskee High School, Lauren Farmer from Rangeley Lakes Regional School, Nick Peterson from Oak Hill High School, Wyatt Bates from Yarmouth High School, and Catherine Kemper from Camden Hills Regional High School. We'll have pictures at the end. There'll be all sorts of pictures at the end. Okay. So a round of applause for our regional finalists. What do we do with these students? We keep them up here? Yeah, okay. All right. Now, would you please congratulate state finalists Abigail Van Luling from Gorham High School. Lydia Karen from Bangor High School. Emma Lombardo from Westbrook High School. And Richard Hilscher from North Yarmouth Academy. The runner-up at this year's 2018 Maine State Poetry Out Loud Finals, Lauren Dodge from Lee Academy. And the winner of the 2018 State Poetry Out Loud Finals, Alan Manga of Deering High School. Thank you to the Maine Arts Commission, the students on this stage, the Waterville Opera House, and everybody in the audience. What a terrific year. Students, stay put. I know there are people who want to take your pictures. That's it. Sure. Don Potter, can you come up on stage, please?
The Maine Poetry Out Loud State Competition is being brought to you live by Boothbay Region Television and Media Center and the Maine Arts Commission. Since 2005, Poetry Out Loud has grown to reach more than 3 million students and 50,000 teachers from 10,000 schools in every state. With over 9,500 Maine students from 39 high schools participating in 2018, the Maine Arts Commission is proud of its high participation rate in Poetry Out Loud each year.